I'm making this video in describing the term burnout, work burnout specifically. Um, I'm suffering from it greatly, and I decided to make a video about it. Think of it as self-therapy. Um, I used to work for several large companies. I'm going to go ahead and mention their name because I am in the public domain and I'm allowed to express my own opinion, but I will not mention names of people who work there. But the last job I had was custom rubber. And working there, I worked in I guess you could say, a very stressful environment where I had to perform at higher levels than everyone around me. At least I felt that way. Um, I'm a lathe operator. I've been a lathe operator since I got out of the Army back in 2002. Um, Basically a manual machinist. And when you're suffering from burnout, you tend to try to fork off into a different direction. You want to try to change your direction in the work environment, branch out, I guess. And I'm having quite difficulty doing this because a lot of those skills that are acquired through repetitiveness and through repeating the same routines, and you know, I I write really slow and I type really slow, and and my spelling confidence isn't all that great because I've basically done nothing but math and levers on machines. And every job I ever had, I exceeded higher expectations than I think anyone before me or after me. But in the end, I've come to the conclusion, because of these companies, that it really isn't how much or how well you perform. It's who you know and who your friends are. And that's one of the things that really got me scared about rejoining the workforce, is that I really don't want to get caught in that again. I came up with my own psychological analysis of what it's like working in shops, and especially here in Houston, Texas. I call it islanding, or islanders. Everyone has their own island. On that island is your friends and your relatives or family. All the people that you can relate with in a company, right? I tend to be on my own island. And I can explain to you exactly why. And it's gotten worse. And I know I shouldn't get into political, but it's gotten a lot worse since Trump's been in office. It was bad when Obama got in. I worked at a company called TAM International, and in that company there was a lot of lazy people that just wanted to stand around and do the minimum amount of work and make them the most amount of money per hour. And that's not how I worked. I worked by solving the problem and getting the job done. And I trained and did everything accordingly that I felt that would benefit the shop. And in the end, when layoffs started happening, it bit me. And a lot of those guys planned a coup against me, and they all signed a petition. And I ended up leaving that company because they said I was being racist when I wasn't. I was not racist at all. And then, ironically, after that, I went to Weatherford, which I was the only white guy there, besides some people in the offices. And I mean, that didn't really occur me or sway me away. There was a lot of language barriers in the facility, and and to this day, I still think Weatherford was probably one of the best jobs I ever had, minus pay. So pay really ended up being the reason why I left that shop. That in the production manager that ran that shop kind of ran me out of there because when they laid off, I ended up being the last lathe operator there. And one of my I like to bring this up every once in a while, is like, if your star player plans on leaving the team, you give him a raise. And one of my future job duties was to train new people coming in, and and I wanted to get paid a little bit extra, something that was more where I felt like my pay grade should have been at. So I called up Buddy from TAM, one of my previous supervisors there. He knew I was done wrong. He felt like he was done wrong. He was ousted out of there too. as well as a bunch of other people. Basically, that company used a lot of politics to not lay people off, but to fire them. So there was also massive drug tests, which I would have passed easily, and so on and so forth. So I ended up over in Custom Rubber after Weatherford, working underneath the supervision of my previous boss. Of course, there were supervisors in the shop that didn't take very quick liking to me. Uh, they didn't. That Custom Rubber had a real infinitive way of not really working like a team, and they had suffered from a lot of the same issues that TAM did, some ways magnified worse. And that ended up being a benefit to me because I was able to push through a lot of bias, especially from my supervisor, and I ended up becoming kind of friends with her. I say kind of, I would say frenemy, but I still worked with her in every way. She understood that I was not out to step on her, but I understood that she was out to step on me. But I took that notion, with a grain of salt, and I pushed through. And for a short period of time, I was actually operating a machine that was totally different than being turning down, cutting down, boring, all that stuff that you would do on a lathe. It was a Remco. It had an extruder, a heating element. It basically was the initial step, one of the beginning processes before a part was going to go and get cooked and sent to the lathe. And I was exceptional at it. I filled out all my paperwork, I documented everything, and I also modified certain techniques because Custom Rubber, a lot of the people there, they were basically stuck in their own ways. And one of the things that really occurred there was what I call click and paste. So instead of doing any kind of mathematical, calculating, they always put down the same amount of pressure when you nylon the parts. And to tell you the truth, the thicker the rubber is to the core of the part, it is rudimentary that you probably should add a few more pounds of pressure, and that's what I did, and my parts came off those machines perfect. And when the other operators went in, they never really actually messed with the tensioner on the machine, so those tensions were never in I guess you could say, the criteria, the spec of the paperwork. Now, I work under the API protocol when I worked at Weatherford. Over there, I try to they keep that same mindset. So I tried following the paperwork to the brim, but it became more or less you follow your own instincts, and nine times out of 10, my instincts were correct. So I ended up bypassing and becoming really good at that machine, which in turn made me basically capable of running all the machines in the facility, all the lathes. The only exception was a lathe where an old man worked at, which I gave him the utmost respect. So I didn't want to, I guess you can say, oust him. So I let him keep that going, and I was only stuck on there when there was a special job, and so on and so forth. But if he was going to retire, I was hoping to take his position, but that didn't seem to be the case. But back to what I was saying about being an islander. Many people there, again, were at the minimumist level of wanting to get the job done. They basically scooted along at an extraordinarily slow pace, and I was raising the bar on what production could be done there, which was one of my main goals when I was working there. But that created enemies. And what was really interesting is that inspection really irked me, because over there I would solve a problem, but later on they would utilize the problem after they okayed it to attack me, and I just kept a straight face and repaired things and did everything accordingly. But when I got moved back to the lathe area, the guys that work in the Remcos were giving us parts with voids and a lot of problems, a lot of gaps, basically a lot of NCR non-acceptable things. But in this point in time, this company was laying off. yeah, I got attacked again, just like I did at Tam. But it was kind of funny. I was getting attacked by an old man that really didn't produce anything, and he was always irritating me. And because of him, I started smoking cigarettes there because he was always giving me cigarettes. He was basically psychologically fucking with me every branch of the way, and uh, I mean, in many ways, he won because after I quit that job, I I've been burnt out ever since, and I'm having a hard time really wanting to get back into the industry. Um, and most of the problem I'm having is this. You know, I can't change my shell. You know, if I had a little goatee and I was maybe a foot shorter, I probably would work a lot better in these environments because just because of my nationality, I would get a lot more respect. But you know, fortunately, in this environment in this country right now, I'm whiter than ever, and I feel it. And I went to a job interview. I was trying to arc off and get in the wood industry. There was a company that did uh, I guess you can say furnishing office buildings, and you know they gave me a tour, and yeah, I stuck out like a sore thumb, and I don't think they liked the what I was asking for per hour, so I never heard back from them. I'm probably gonna email them just to kind of nudge it, but I'm doubtful. So, uh, you know, when you're burnt out, you know, you fear re-entering that specific workforce. I've literally watched the demographic and the attitude and all that change through the years, and I feel that is the beginning of a downturn generally in the oil industry. Uh, Most of our oil is easy oil from the Middle East, and I feel that every time I put gas in my car that I'm, you know, exacerbating, whatever the word is, the terminology for supporting non-American groups, people that are hateful against us. And if it was up to me, you know, we would be burning the oil that we pump out of our own ground, and or selling the oil that we get here out to the other parts of the world. But it doesn't work that way. So because of this oversaturation, it is increasingly difficult for me to get back into the workforce, and not being educated in any other branch, I I might be fucked. So, and it's bringing on a high level of depression. So, and because one, I need to work. I need to pay my bills. I got a lot of responsibilities. But two, I really don't want to. You know, that's a horrible thing to say. So burnout it's a real condition. I tried going to the VA to get help, and the VA didn't help me at all. I mean, I guess you can say I'm a failed soldier. You know, they ruined my legs, but they don't give a fuck about it. And I got a buddy of mine that suffers from depression, and he, because of some activities he did to hurt himself in the military, he has documentation of it. Now he has 100% disability. But I have to walk on my knees. I can't walk on my brain. And, you know, and I'm finding this unprofound love in making videos. And I wish I could do this for a living, but I can't. I can't get sponsorship. And YouTube's is based off a computer algorithm, an artificial intelligence, and a lot of my videos get flagged for copyright infringement because of shit playing in the background. So basically, I'm in I finally fell off that cliff that a lot of people they fear falling off, and I'm really wondering what's at the bottom. So, and that's a morbid curiosity. But you know, I mean, when I edit this video, I'm gonna be posting a lot of clips and stuff of what I used to do. But you know, I mean, I don't know what to do. When you're lost, you're lost. And when there's no doors open, there's no doors open. I mean, it's an unprofound, overwhelming feeling of loneliness. And you know, I'm sitting at home. I got a lot of things I could be doing. but I know I should be looking for work. So I'm sitting there wandering around my house, trying to preoccupy myself, trying to convince myself to go up here and look for headhunters and tip agencies. And I'm getting job offers for jobs that make $10 an hour. You can't make house payments on $10 an hour. You can't make electric bill on $10 an hour. Yeah, so I don't know. It's a cry for help or what, but I like to think that maybe I'm on my last chapter. It's not a very good read. So, and I've let a lot of opportunities pass me by in the past, and I'm looking back on it and thinking, maybe I should have made those risks and stuff. Maybe I would have gained more skills, but that's doesn't seem to be the case. I am a burnt out, uneducated, I may be intelligent, but lathe operator that is no longer welcomed in the industry. So what is a man to do? So that's what burnout is. So if you have any suggestions or anything, give me a comment or two. Yeah.